Yeah, so...
Yeah, go ahead.
I kind of wanted to talk about Epstein for a bit.
Oh, boy.
Because...
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
well,
right?
really,
No, I think we should. It's important to talk about that kind of stuff, even though it's uncomfortable.
I'm super glad that they are going through with this prosecution or that they're holding him. That's super awesome and everything. But this, to me, looks like a fall guy thing. And I'm not
you
sure...
mentioned that. Yeah, you mentioned that before. And, okay, so I understand what you're saying, that he's kind of the fall guy, I guess, but isn't he the orchestrator in a lot of ways, or is there, or is he just a pawn himself? I mean, that's,
I don't know.
And that's the thing. It will open up. Because if he's the fall guy,
it seems to me this guy was untouchable by state law, and he was able to buy all state law. So it seems to me that someone else is also. I mean, he must have dark secrets about everyone, or be a part of something that's much, much larger that we can't quite see.
Well, sure, that makes sense. I mean, he was the flashy guy, the guy with, apparently a lot of money, but relatively little institutional power. So he had to have a lot of backup from people with real power in order to play along, go along, participate. Because him on his own, like, so what? He's some rich guy who likes girls. Like, that's not... There doesn't seem to be enough reason to protect him just on that basis. Like, so what? He's rich. He likes... Let's nail him. But for some reason, he's surrounded by this mysterious group of people who have real power, and for some reason seem to want to protect him. So I think you may be onto something with him being kind of the fall guy, because if he goes away, then the power players continue to get to behave in that way, and then perhaps find another guy, a rich pedophile, who they can further protect so he can provide them with their, entertainment. I get it.
I don't know though that was like his main purpose. It seems like these other guys would have had their own, ability and their own sort of like, I don't know, but
but they're too well connected themselves in a sense, like, so they need another person,
right, and
unseen, but who's loosely connected with all of these other people, who they can deny after he gets caught. They can say, "Oh, I barely knew the guy," or "I didn't know about it," and all of that stuff. But
it seems like this Wexler guy is a big player in this too. Who was head of who's head of Victoria's Secret or whatever.
Oh, right. That was interesting too, where Epstein kind of took over Victoria's Secret, and no one really knew about it. Like, for years, he was basically in charge of the company, and it looks like he maybe coerced the Wexler guy into giving him stuff, like property and money. So, because I guess the authorities have been kind of looking into where his money came from, and it just came from nowhere in a lot of cases. It just, hey, is that Lula?
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, she's pissed. She agrees. She's like, I'm going to bite that guy. So, what I was saying is, like, there's no clear trail of where his assets actually came from. No. Even the giant mansion, the 7-story mansion in New York, which is absurd, doesn't seem to have any kind of sale documentation. It just suddenly it was his.
Yeah.
Right. And you would think a property that big would have a pretty comprehensive paper trail, but nope. Nope. It's weird.
I'm so interested in what comes out of it, and they subpoenaed the pilots.
Yes, both of the pilots who may or may not know anything
at all.
But chances are, I think that if you were working for somebody for that long, or for however long they did work for him, you would have some idea about what was going on behind you in the plane, or who was on the plane, at the very least, right? You're like, oh, we don't know anything about who was on the plane. We just fly the plane. So yesterday, his good buddy, 80-year-old Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz, said something that that was very strange. He seems to have a very convoluted way of thinking about men could misinterpret the lack of consent. And apparently this was something that he talked about before. He was just fascinated with men who were quote unquote wrongfully accused of rape. Like, that was a big deal for him, and he wanted to defend these guys. Even knowing, in a lot of cases, that his clients were absolutely guilty. Like, the argument being that everyone deserves a defense.
Right.
But basically, his take on, like, prostitution, for instance, is that prostitutes know what they're doing. They should be prosecuted, but you shouldn't ruin a John's life over that, because they're not at fault. It's the prostitute that is actually committing the crime, not the guy having sex with her. Like, strange stuff like that. And then he put out a tweet yesterday saying that, and I'm just paraphrasing, saying that if a 16-year-old girl can have an abortion without state or parental consent, then they should be able to have sex without some other person's consent too. They should just be able to make their own decisions regarding sex, and it's fine. The problem with that is they don't have anything to do with each other, and even if you want to say 16 is old enough, the girls in question were quite a bit younger than that, like as young as 12. So I don't know if he thinks that too, but he got a lot of backlash, regarding that point of view, because it's really twisted.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
These people, man. I almost feel like a lot of the time they're trolling, and they don't actually, like, this is all reaction and like how we react.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like a cause and effect thing, and the attention, good or bad, is controversy, and therefore it's press.
Right. Right. Like, the fact that it's a story at all is weird to me. A lot of stories like that relate to, like, the rich and powerful probably shouldn't be news items. Well, they should probably just, like, let that stuff go on in the background. And I think we've talked about this with Trump too. The idea that until, like, something actually happens, like a result or something tangible and real, like a judgment, or like, the process should be allowed to kind of go on behind the scenes without a lot of what we're doing, but it's almost unavoidable to not want to comment on the commentary.
Sure.
To point it out and how damaging it can be when you start to create a celebrity out of a monster, because it softens the whole tone of, like, who these people are, because then it becomes entertainment.
Yeah.
And people want to hear more about it.
Because we're all just basically watching his television show, The Apprentice. That's basically what we're on.
With Trump, and then of course with like this whole Epstein thing too.
Yeah.
And all of these people and all of these little scenarios that get inflated into something that although serious and important, it seems that there are many more things that should be discussed and portrayed on something called the news. Like we're off the hook, right? Because we're not the news. Like we get to comment on whatever, but when you come as an official source for people about what's going on in the world and in their communities, is that really the thing like that should be talked about? Like some rich guy who's a pedophile who got arrested? Like maybe that alone like should be it. Like, hey, check this out. Some rich guy, pedophile, got arrested. Oh, he had been arrested before. And I guess we're going to see what happens when it's all over with, instead of like ruthlessly following every detail, because then it turns into entertainment.
This isn't rumor-based or alone rumor-based. This is from press digging into things and exposing small things along the way. But that probably needed to happen to get things rolling, because the government seems to not do anything about things. I don't know.
Well, there's a differentiation between, say, like independent media, which I would put us in that category in some ways.
Yeah.
Because we're publishing independently on our own.
Yeah.
We're not a corporation. We're not restricted by certain rules and things like that, other than the rules of YouTube. But when you're dealing with like a news organization, like NBC, for example, or whatever, the amount of options that they have and influence they have about what to report and how to report it, and the bias they put on things, it seems like there are many more topics that are much more relevant to people in their daily lives, other than a rich pedophile who got arrested. Like,
absolutely
it's interesting. It's fascinating. It says something about our culture, but let the independent people dissect that stuff. Like, because that's where it comes from anyway. Like, into a large degree, that's where they get their scoops.
Yeah,
from sources, and those sources might have an agenda, and we don't know what that is. Like, we don't have any idea, because there's all this, off the record and stuff, or anonymity, because people don't want to be implicated themselves, and it just makes everything very hard to determine what's true. So, but all that being said, I think it is important that this is happening, regardless of the sensational reporting that's going on. Mm-hmm. So, we're going to talk about it too, and because why not? Like, it's fascinating and dark, and that's what people like. We love that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So guess we'll see what happens. It would be very strange and scary if he really does turn out to be kind of like a less important figure than the people are making him out to be. Which, that's the other thing too. If that kind of stuff is going on in order to hide reality, that means that this won't be resolved. Apparently the guy's already tried to hurt himself, or maybe not. That's weird, in his jail cell.
Yeah.
Like,
I just think, I think I think that people like this probably also have connections with people who, you know, are also doing these strange activities and, you know, hang out in these strange circles, doing these strange, you know, horrendous activities. And I think that a lot of people are probably shaking their boots at this point, but I don't know. Who knows? We'll see.